look at my lathe stand. Apologies for the background noise, which is just rain on the metal roof of the shed. Now what the lathe is actually standing on is a wooden countertop. Now this wooden countertop is that sort of thick, quite thick countertop. You want to know how millimeters thick. And then there's a 20mm thick base. Those two parts are screwed together with about 10 screws, so they're kind of laminated together to give what I think is a fairly stiff top. Because if the top itself twists in any way, then it could or is likely to affect the twist of the bed of the lathe. Maybe not. What I'm doing for leveling the lathe at the moment is shimming it. I've got some of the shim stock rather than using the jacks. Now underneath that we've got this Unistrut. Now where the lathe came from, I think the back part of the Unistrut material was attached to a masonry wall. Certainly the garage workshop was completely brick built or masonry built. What I've got here is a 9-inch wall up to there. Then on top of the 9-inch wall I've got 3x3 framing for the rest of the shed wall. So you've got a 9-inch wall up to there, then 3x3 framing. What I've done is I've attached a piece of 3x2 here to this framing. So 3x2 runs all the way along there, attached in several places, and then you can just see the shiny heads of some coach bolts through the Unistrut attaching it to that wall. Now that in the middle of the picture now, in there, is fixed down onto the top of the 9-inch wall, which is behind that white vapour barrier. I'll just pull it back. So there you see the wall, and at the top of the wall you can just about see the 3x3 framing. So that's the wall underneath it there, a masonry wall. Anyway, if this isn't stiff enough, fortunately I've got some additional Unistrut, and so what I can do is from the back take some Unistrut down and attach that into the 9-inch wall so that I completely tie it in to that 9-inch wall, and then that's going to be solidly into the wall. However, this is actually just a temporary stand while I sort out my two lathes, and I'll explain what I mean by that now. 7 on a professional, very solid, very heavy steel stand. 2 cupboards, panel in the middle for switches. Behind that panel, but separated, is a coolant pump and coolant reservoir. So that's all built into the stand. So we've got quite a solid stand, and the top of that stand is made out of not quite 1/4 inch, but 3-4mm thick steel plate. So that's fairly rigid. But what so that whichever lathe, not the best part of those lathes are going to be put onto this stand. So this is the stand the lathe will be on. But what I've got to do is I need to do a little bit of testing and sorting out with some professionals, and I need some help. This is where I need help of somebody close to the Bradford area to help me look at both these lathes, operate them, run them, and decide which has got the better everything all the way around. And then there will be a Super 7 available. And one of the things I've got to decide is about my screw cutting gearbox. about keeping the screw cutting gearbox. But what I will be doing, because I want it to look the business, is have the guards for the lathe, etc. Now this is an engineer built lathe. I've added the motor, but an engineer has fabricated the thing that holds the lathe shaft and the clutch. I think he's actually remanufactured the clutch on the end, but quite a few things, and from my knowledge of its history, it's been used and looked after by somebody who was quite an experienced turner and an engineer that had great skills and capabilities, because he's actually managed to make some things. Anyway, there we go. So we've got 2 lathes, a stand which will be kept with whichever lathe I keep, and a temporary stand which I am going to attempt to find the stiffness of, because it would be useful to know how stiff that stand is, and if necessary, if we need to brace it at the back. But this has got a timber top support of total 6 centimeters, 60 millimeters depth there, timber, but quite robust and rigid timber. So there we go, that's the stands, and I guess the proof of the pudding will be in the testing of it and see what vibration and other things. I've just got power into the shed, just been putting some ring main into it, so now I'm in a position to be able to fix up and attach the motor to do some testing and levelling of the bed to get the lathe sorted out, and then we can actually do some further experimentation with it. Sorry this video was a bit long, but hopefully that is of interest to you. And I'm inviting comments. That's basically why I'm doing it. I really enjoy hearing your comments.